to have when I go to open the door and come with me.
Yeah.
Very
I'm going to speak to it later because I know the development very well, and there are other 4 bedrooms far away from this tree in that development. Yeah.
I
Okay, ma'am.
I have a question.
Of her?
No, if,
Okay, you may be seated. You may sit down. Thank you. Thank you. Staff to the floor, please. Councillor Minnan Wong.
so do we have an application from the owner of these townhouses for the removal of the tree?
Yes, the application was made by the property owner.
Thank you. I'll speak when it's done.
Are there any other questions of staff? No? Okay, Councillor
I'll
Minnan.
speak last.
Okay, Councillor Carroll.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, the local councillor may want to move a motion, but I won't be supporting removal. I understand that allergies are a serious thing, but allergies exist for thousands of Torontonians across the city. And if we begin to use allergies as a reason to cut down trees, there really won't be many left. And so you have to address the situation. Fortunately, the person who spoke today isn't an owner of this property. We're not asking her to destroy an investment and to move. And if she's there with a rent supplement. And it really is the case that this is a very large townhouse complex, and it has some 4-bedroom units that are 4 stories, but it also has throughout the complex, and often people are unaware even while living there, it has 4-bedroom units in other configurations all the way up to 100 Cassandra. And fortunately, the supplement can move. If the resident needs to move to avoid this tree that's causing her allergies, she can stay within the complex, her kids can stay within the school, and her supplement can move with her to another 4-bedroom unit. Thank you.
Councillor Pasternak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to support the removal of this tree. With all due respect to my colleague, Councillor Carroll, the portability of rent supplement agreements and moving within below market rent complexes, whether it's housing connections or whether it's some kind of below market rent agreement, is extremely difficult. We've been trying to transfer people within the network of housing connections priority list, and it is virtually impossible for movement. Even once you're in the system, movement is almost impossible. I think the City of Toronto has to commit itself to the quiet enjoyment of your property, to live in respect and dignity and good health, whether you are a tenant, and I would only assume that it's going to be a long-term tenancy because of the nature of the reason that she's there. I would also say that it is an application brought by the owner of the residence, which should be respected as well. So I will not be supporting the staff recommendations to deny this tree removal. I think we have to respect our tenants, respect that people have health issues, and the big arm of government has to come back and let private property reign.
When it's a reward, it's different.
Councillor Minnan Wong, last speaker.
Yeah, thank you. Did Councillor Pasternak move I'm going to move the alternate recommendations
Which are?
so that we allow the removal of the tree and replacement. So I'm persuaded by the doctor's note and the pictures.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
the arrangement not to, the argument put forward not to remove the tree was to tell the tenant to move. Like, I'm sorry, I think we've gone a little bit too far when we're telling tenants who want to actually live in their home that, you know what, the tree's more important than you are. You've got to go find a new place. We don't even know whether there are vacancies available right now. When I saw the pictures, I'm persuaded. I don't want her to move. I mean, I think I support most of these tree applications, but when you see pictures like that supported by a doctor's note, I am you know, I think that's proof enough for me that, you know, we should grant an exception in this circumstance.
Madam Speaker, I did want to speak on this.
Oh, okay then. Councillor Shiner?
So, I can't support my colleague, Councillor Menawong's motion because although this tenant's in the house now, the next tenant may actually enjoy the tree, and it's there for the neighborhood to support. So I can't support that. In regards to Chainsaw Pasternak, haven't seen a tree, didn't want to cut down. And she promised me a coffee if I say that.
All right, thank you.
So,
We're ready to vote.
Oh, so we have a motion to, we have alternative.
Okay, Councillor Min Wong,
She's got pictures of
your motion goes first.
Like, come on.
Shall we? No, that was before. Okay, all in favor, please, and a recorded vote has been asked for, on the motion up on the screen. Councillors Cole, Carmichael Greb, Min Wong, Ajamari, and Pasternak. Against the motion, Councillors Burnside, Shiner, Carroll, Robinson, Fillion, and Peruzza. So the motion does not carry. We need an alternate motion? Staff recommendation, moved by Councillor Carroll. All in favor?
Recorded vote.
All in favor? Councillor Burnside, Shiner, Carroll, Robinson, Fillion, Ajamari, and Peruzza. Against, Councillors Cole, Carmichael Greb, Min Wong, and Pasternak. Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we really have to speed things up. Item 42, we're still on the 11:15 public hearings. Mark Kestenberg, 450 Woburn Avenue. Welcome, you have 5 minutes.
Good morning. As you know, this is an appeal for front pad parking at 450 Woburn. I own 450 Woburn. My application was originally rejected for 2 reasons. The first reason was that my property didn't meet the soft landscaping requirements, but I have made arrangements to have those requirements met. City staff has confirmed those requirements have been met, and it's no longer an issue for my application. The second reason my application was rejected was because it was thought that I had parking through the rear laneway to my home. I don't have parking to the rear laneway through my home, and as I'll explain to you, I don't have access because I relied on the actions of the city. This is what makes my situation unique, and this is why I'm asking that you make an exception and allow me to keep my front pad parking. This is a picture of the front of my home. The front pad was constructed by the previous owner, and around the time that I moved in June 2014, I requested the city to come and cut my curb. And you'll see that the curb was cut by the city. It's a legal curb cut in October of 2014. After the curb was cut, I believe that I had a legal driveway. This is a picture of my backyard. You'll see now that the fence is along the back of the property. It wasn't always there. It was along the middle of the property where the gray stones were, and I had a gate there. I moved the fence back. I built the fence after the city came and cut my curb, and I believe that I had legal parking. And by moving the fence back, my children now have a safe place to play in the backyard. The city says that I'm not allowed to park in the front because I don't have, or I do have parking in the back, but as you see, I no longer have access to parking in the back. And so what I'm here today is to ask for a reasonable solution to this unfortunate situation. I've worked proactively to deal with any runoff water issues. I've met the soft landscaping requirement. I have a healthy tree that's growing in front of my home. The front pad is built with stones which permit water to drain, and the downspouts on either side of my property flow into the gardens on either side of my property. In addition, this appeal enjoys the overwhelming support of my neighbors. More than 90% of those who voted in favor of this appeal, And all of my immediate neighbors, those to the east, those to the west, those across the street from me, have all signed a petition in favor of this appeal, and I've filed that with the city. I've also received 2 unsolicited letters of approval from my neighbors. One from Jane Ambrosini, who has identified the serious parking issues on my street on Woburn between Avenue and Gray. And the other is from Justice Roberti, who lives across the street from me, who's identified in his letter that the city always forgets that the laneways west of Avenue Road are totally different from the ones to the east of Avenue Road. Those lanes are paved, have street lights, and are salted in the winter. What you have instead is a dead-end, unpaved, unlit dirt track, often inaccessible during heavy rainfall or winter storms. The city does not plow or salt our laneway. And with respect, I agree with Justice Roberti, who's my neighbor. I agree with his view that the laneway in the back of my property is unsafe, but I actually don't think that the city forgot this. If you take a look at the municipal code, this is Chapter 918, which deals with front pad parking. Section 3, or Article 3, let's move this up, deals with applicability for front pad parking, and there's a prohibition, a pretty broad prohibition, which deals with wards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, which is mine, and then there's an exception for Woburn Avenue between Avenue Road and Gray Road, which is exactly where I live. And my view is that that exception was put in place by the city because it knew that the laneways behind Woburn, and there are laneways both on the north and south side of Woburn, are not safe, are not maintained, are not lit, and are not a laneway which should give this council a basis to reject the application for front pad parking.
Thank you. Questions?
I just have.
Go ahead.
So the city did put in a curb cut in front of your home, correct?
That's correct, Councilor Carmichael Grubb. The city came and cut the curb in October of 2014.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Councillor Burnside?
Thank you. Through you. So you moved into this home that was built by somebody else, correct?
Correct. I'm sorry, I can't see who's speaking. I apologize.
Me.
Thank you.
That's okay. And was there a curb cut at the time?
No.
Okay. And when you bought the house, doing your due diligence, did you inquire about whether front parking was allowed and there was a permit for that address before you bought the house?
I wasn't aware that there was a permit for that address. I did give consideration. I saw that there was the exception in the act for that section of Woburn. So when I came and requested the city to cut the curb, and they did, I thought I had legal front pad parking.
So, okay, so hold on. You doing your due diligence and buying the home, you looked at the municipal act, but you didn't actually inquire as to whether it was permitted. It was just accepted.
That's correct.
Okay. And then I believe the other point is that you changed the configuration of your fence at the back. What would be the cost to change the configuration back, like moving the fence or putting in a gate?
I can tell you how much it cost for me to move it back. So there was other work that was done at the time, and it wasn't broken out, but it cost me $10,000 to move the fence back and deal with a couple other issues at the same time. I don't know what the cost would be to have it put back, but it's the best I can do for you.
Okay, so there's a cost for sure. Would the parking at the front allow you to have a larger yard at the back? If we allowed the front pad parking, that would allow you to have a larger yard at the back.
Okay, so that's a good question. So I haven't done, you saw my backyard, it's all paved, or it's got the stones there. I haven't done anything in the back because for the better part of a year now, I didn't know what the outcome of this was going to be. So I've given consideration to what I'm going to do. I'd like to put in some gardens. I haven't committed to anything yet, but there is certainly an opportunity to put in some more soft landscaping in the back.
Okay, thanks.
All right, are there any more questions? You may be seated. Staff to the floor, please. Councillor Carroll?
Yes, I'm wondering if staff can talk to us about the exemption of these two streets in terms of front yard parking. So you may not apply at all if you're on all of the areas listed, save and except these two streets. And I'm wondering if staff wanted to speak to that. We know the origins of that odd thing.
Yes, the Municipal Code Chapter 918 was amended, I think it was back in 2014, to allow residents on that block, on that street, that section of Woburn, to be able to make application to for front yard parking applications, because it wasn't allowed for the residents before to even make application for front yard parking.
Right, so they can make application, but the rule, if I'm reading the report right, the rule that if there is an ability to park elsewhere on the lot, specifically a back lane and access to your backyard, that application, while you can make it, you still have the right to staff to deny it.
Right, so they can make the application. Now, that section, yes, there's, the denial is actually for the laneway at the back of the property. And I think that was the key reason that the Transportation don't have the authority
Right.
to approve that. However, the applicant definitely, did made an appeal to our decision, so it's presented at Community Council for decisions.
Right, and there's even a supplementary report to tell us that, yes, he did make some landscaping changes, but we're still denying it on the basis of there being access to the property from the rear of the lot.
So-
So the question is, I'm wondering if you wanted to speak to the laneway maintenance, the issues that the applicant has brought up. Are we making progress? Is there something in the laneway homes and laneway maintenance? Are we making progress on what's going to happen on laneways, through the Four Seasons?
I don't have anything definite, but I know this part of the laneway is on the list to be upgraded to a asphalt type of laneway. I don't have the timing for that, but I know it is on the list for other.
So it is on that list of upgrades, and it would
In the
receive winter
future.
maintenance, et cetera.
Et cetera,
Okay.
yes.
So then there's one last question. When the applicant, upon buying the house, made a request to have a curb cut put in, why was that not investigated? Why would they just go ahead and do the curb cut without looking into, is this a legal and compliant parking pad, and does this guy have access to the back of his house?
So in this particular case, it was, there was a mistake made by the contractor to install that curb cut at this address. And when we actually went back and.
Our contractor or?
The city contractor, that they were doing the area.
So they don't, no one goes out and investigates before we say, yes, we'll send someone to do your curb cut?
We did, we actually gave them a plan. Their error is they made a mistake with another address. So we actually went out afterwards and contacted the homeowner saying that there is a ramp installed by mistake.
Councillor Pasternak, I'm talking to the staff member right behind you. Thank you.
So,
So you did notify him right away, we've made a mistake?
yeah, we have contacted the homeowner that there was an error made. And in fact, back then, when we did our inspection back then, a couple of years ago, because the backyard was hard surface, okay, so our argument was that we have to close this off because you do have a second access off the laneway.
Right.
However, since then, it was then closed off, the
Yeah.
backyard, so that parking sort of went away at the back.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Those are my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I have some questions. Okay. You have a question, Counselor? Go ahead.
So you said that you notified the resident that the curb cut was put in error?
Yes.
When
I don't know if
was
it's the
that done?
current homeowner or the homeowner before when they made the request. So it was.
So it may not have
the-
been this resident, the
it
current
may not
resident
have
who's
been,
applying?
or- yeah.
Okay, so we don't know that the current resident got notified that there was a curb cut put in error. And so you said that the laneway was going to be paved. When is that being done?
Like I said, I have no control of that. Basically, they have a list of all the, I guess, substandard laneways that needs to be upgraded. And I guess, depending on budget and priorities,
So it could be 30 years from now.
it could be, I don't know.
And there's no guarantee that it will get maintenance after that, correct? Winter maintenance.
Well, if it's city laneway, it's our job to maintain it.
I have several laneways in the ward that don't get maintained, so
Ideally.
I'm not holding my breath on that one.
Ideally.
Okay, so
Thank you.
ideally, we will get winter maintenance on it, but maybe not. Okay, thank you.
Would you like to move a motion, Counselor?
Yes, I will be moving the alternate recommendations on this, please.
Okay. Alternate recommendations
In
on
the
item
supplementary
42?
report. Alternate recommendations in the supplementary.
Okay. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? It carries. Thank you. I'm drawing councilors' attention to the fact that we only have half an hour left and we have many, many items. Item 43, please. Jordan Lipson. Welcome. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. As you can tell, I lost my voice at the worst possible time, so I apologize for that. But much of what I would say mirrors Mark's situation. We have been in this house for a number of years. The front pad parking is crucial to not only my family, but for the betterment of the neighborhood. Our local polling results, again, we're almost 90% positive in favor of the maintenance of the front pad parking. My father is a recent lung cancer survivor. My mother goes to Florida during the winter times, and he comes and stays with us. Very often, it is extremely difficult for him to access the house from the parking lane in the back. As we've already discussed, the lane is never well kept. It's dangerous, frankly. What else can I say? Really, I am more than happy to comply with any alternate recommendations that the city would have us instill at the property when it comes to soft landscaping, any other recommendations that we might be given by the city. I'm happy to comply. Really, when it comes down to it, there are a number of properties in the area that are in similar circumstances. And I literally live right beside Mark, and there's someone right beside myself that have a similar situation. So, look, I'm sorry, I'm not going to speak anymore. It hurts. But
Thank you,
for
sir.
your time.
Thank you so much. Counselor, would you like to move a motion?
Yes, I will be moving the alternate recommendations on the supplement, in the supplementary report on this item, please.
All in favor? I'm sorry. All in favor of the supplementary recommendations? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It does not carry. Someone move the staff report? Councillor Burnside, moving the staff report. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next one is Mike Ricafort, 12 Ardrosen Place.
Hi, thank you. I'm the homeowner at 12 Ardrosen and ask for your consideration for our front yard parking appeal. As you can see, I've outlined some important points, and I think I've given you guys each a handout here. Our home is 2 houses away from Lawrence Avenue and 1 street from Mount Pleasant. During the day, Monday to Friday, we're a haven for day parkers for easy access to the bus that runs along Lawrence, as well as south on Mount Pleasant, and access to Lawrence Subway Station. Part of our request here is to also net benefit the city and the environment. We would be removing a current hard surface material, our walkway, in part of our driveway, and replacing it with a 100% permeable porous solution using recycled tires and gravel that's adhered with a binding agent. So really, we'd be lessening the runoff into the city sewer system. The other point that I'd like to make out is we're in need of a reasonable charging solution for our electric vehicle. While charging isn't impossible, we're going to be left with running an extension cord to the street, over the sidewalk to our car. The other point I'd make is we're trying to be compliant citizens here. Right now, 63% of the houses on our street have illegal front yard parking. And we're here trying to be compliant and properly rent the space and pay you an annual fee. As noted in your report, our application doesn't require a curb cut. We're not taking an available street spot away for other residents. And what I've also noted here is 2 solutions, either an angled spot or a perpendicular spot. If it's the perpendicular spot you're willing to consider and approve us for, there's a small, less than 15 centimeter tree that we would be willing to relocate with working with City Forestry. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Are there any motions? Oh, you have a question of the speaker? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a question. So you have an electric car and a regular car? Is that the...
Right, we have 2 vehicles.
Okay, and you have a garage in the back, I see, from one of the...
We do have a garage, but I don't know if it shows on the plan. The one thing that, it's a narrow spot. We have a hydrometer there that I think it measures in here at 1.87 meters. From what I understand from the city, and when transportation came and measured our distance in the laneway or in the shared driveway, it's under the 2.2 meter limit for the city to say that it's acceptable to drive through. While we have a laneway and a garage, the actual garage is
So
about...
the city told you you don't have to drive down your driveway?
Oh, they said we don't have enough acceptable space to drive down our driveway. But the other thing I'd highlight is that, if I can give you another picture here, the garage actually isn't usable. It is a derelict garage that's leaning over. I can't even drive back there anyway, so we're going to be taking it down and putting in a shed.
Okay. I'll have a question of staff. Sorry to keep you, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Burnside? All right, you may be seated, sir. Thank you very much. Staff to the floor, please. Councillor Carroll, then Councillor Burnside.
Yes, so talk to me about shared driveways. Are we in the habit of telling people that you can't drive down your driveway to your garage?
We actually have a minimum width of driveway, and in this case, we have identified a 2.17, which is substandard to a driveway width.
Oh, okay. So he can apply to us on that basis. The denial, as near as I can tell from the report, is based on the number of permits available on the street?
It's based on the permit parking on the same side of the street.
Yes, and apparently a small percentage of the permits, less than half of the permits that can be used.
That's right. So it's still available permit you can take out for parking on the street.
And that's your basis for denial? Because there is a landscape plan here. They're not asking for a greater curb cut. So it's just based on the number of permits on the street?
It's not based on the number of permits on the street. It's based on the permit parking on the same side of the street.
Right. Even within his very own same side of the street, there are still available permits.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Councillor Burnside?
Yeah, what are the hours of permit parking?
These would be overnight parking permits.
So then theoretically, if you're there in the day and a neighbor on the street,
It's not going to be impacted.
not by the permit, but if you're parking there in the daytime and a neighbor complains, someone, for the 3-hour bylaw, this person could potentially get a ticket, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, the other question I have, other factors, it says on this portion of Adrosin, I guess that's the name, the way you pronounce it, place, between Lawrence and Wanless, there are 3 properties licensed for front yard parking. So on that section, there are 3 other properties. Are those properties, are they all mutual driveways?
I don't have that information unless I have the specific address.
So, yeah, well, I don't, because it's your report and it's not in here, but, that's fine. So we can assume they are. It doesn't really matter for where I'm going with this. What's the rationale? I mean, I heard your rationale for the denying it based on permits still available on the street. But how do you say what's the policy, if you will, for saying to someone who's requested it, oh, well, we've allowed these 3 houses, but not you, given that there's a landscape plan and all those other elements?
So as part of the Chapter 918 that regulates front yard parking, the condition is that if there's permit parking on the same side of the street, we don't have authority. So we have to deny the application.
You have to deny it.
We have to deny it.
Right, so it's not about fairness, nothing about that. It's, here's the policy.
That's right.
Here's your answer. Don't you love it? Okay, thank you.
Motions? Oh, questions of staff?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor.
So this property doesn't have pad parking. There's a common driveway. Does the property to the north have a space for a car to park?
You mean the adjacent?
Yes.
Give me 1 second.
Because I'm looking at the satellite view and it seems to.
So next door neighbor doesn't have a front yard parking license right now.
They don't have it, but as in your plan, it says zone parking for number 16.
So the only thing I can tell you, they don't have a front yard parking. Oh, sorry, hold on.
So they don't have a permit, but they
Stone
could be.
parking.
Pardon me?
Hold on, give me 1 second. Hold on a second. Let me just check this here. Oops. So they're licensed at 21, 22, and 24 Addison Place. So there's 3 on that street's got front yard parking.
So the neighboring property,
So the neighboring
Is it-
property is not front yard
so the
parking.
in the photo that you gave us doesn't show the neighboring property. Do you have a photo with the neighboring property immediately to the north? I think it's to the north.
No, I don't have photos.
I wanted to know how wide the curb cut is there. Because there's a car parked in front of the house.
We actually, it's not, the curb cut, the ramp access for that mutual driveway, the existing mutual driveway, there's no additional cut that I believe that we have for the next door neighbor to the north. This one is,
Okay, I don't want to hold everybody. You don't have another photo.
the,
Do you know the width of the curb cut?
no.
So width is a curb cut.
Right now, the existing is 2.6 meters.
The curb cut.
the existing ramp.
It's 2.6, but the driveway's only 2.1.
Yes,
So the curb cut is wider than the driveway.
yes. Because,
Thank
yeah.
Thank you.
All right then. Do we have a motion, please? Okay, the alternate recommendations have been moved by the local councillor. All in favor?
What is this for? Yeah.
I'm sorry? Yes, we're running out of time. No, you're not.
Oh, yeah, I am. Come on now. No, you're confusing me with others. I would just say normally I vote against these things. I find the rationale that are presented to the community council often a little bit weak. But in this case, it really comes down to a matter of fairness. We've seen through the report, there are 3 people who have front yard parking that's legal. Staff have to say no. They have no choice the way the bylaw is crafted. But it's very hard to say, hey, it's okay for you, but it's not okay for your neighbor. There's a landscaping plan, so I will be voting in favor of Councillor Robinson's motion.
Thank you. Can I see a show of hands then in favor of Councillor Robinson's motion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In opposition? 1, 2, 3. Okay, it carries. Thank you. Councillor Perruzza, on 26.7, do you have a quick release? Is your microphone on?
And the clerk has the motion, and, okay. I'd like to move that.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Isn't Grand Ravine one word? I think Grand Ravine Drive is one word.
Okay.
Councillor Perruzza, item 45,
No, there's,
application for fence
so
exemption.
before you do 45, can we just do 17?
Okay,
Which
17.
is the subway station at Steeles, all of the traffic, traffic management rules that the TTC would like to have in place, I guess, prior to the station actually opening. So it's I just moved the staff recommendations
Okay,
that are before the council.
Thank you. Staff recommendation moved on item 17. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Madam Chair, if it helps you out,
Not
I can do
45.
28 too, quickly.
Say again?
Item 28.
Okay.
We can knock off, there's a deputant that will say 3 seconds if you.
We can't. We have to deal with items 45 and 46 first. They're 11:30 public hearings.
So
is the person here for 45? Johnny Zhu? Welcome, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Chongning Xu. I'm the owner of 79 Martin Ross Avenue. I'm applied for fence exemption. My when we moved that property in 2011, from now we have got 4 times break-in. Every time they cut my steel wire, make hole, they go inside stealing from us. So this time we try to install a fence with steel sheet. So that's my application.
All right. Councillor, you have a motion?
Yes, I'd just like to defer this for one more round. We've been trying to connect with these folks, and I just need
Okay,
to, I
defer
would
to
like
the
to do that.
January meeting of
Thank you.
council. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 46. 56 Glen Grove Avenue West. Is there anyone here to deal with this item? No one? Could you please get ready if your item is coming up? Welcome, sir. What is your name?
Jamie, I'm here on behalf of the homeowner.
Did you register with the clerk?
No, I forgot.
Okay, you have to register with the clerk if you want to speak.
Okay.
So why don't you register afterwards?
Okay.
Go ahead.
We put in a pool for the homeowner, and there are exemptions for the garage that's interfering with the visual from the house. And that's pretty much it. There's the garage interfering with the visual from the house, and they won't approve it for the pool enclosure.
Okay. Whose ward is this? Councillor Carmichael Greff?
Yes, I will be moving recommendation number 2
Okay.
to grant the application.
All right. Local councillor has moved recommendation number 2. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Cole, item 51. Oh, you said you had a quick item?
Item
28.
28, traffic control signals,
Okay.
Dufferin Street and Glengrove, with a probably less than a minute
Yes.
supportive comment from our local BIA. We can move.
Thank you,
Approval?
sir, for waiting.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Domenico Maiolo. I'm the chair of the Marqueto District BIA. I'm here to support the traffic signal crossing at Glen Grove in front of the dental office and Mr. Sub. Real quickly, the reasons for this is we're trying to create commerce between the two sides. It is becoming increasingly unsafe for people to cross the street because the traffic signals are too far in the north and south locations. On either side, we have Lady York, City Fish, restaurants, dental offices. On the other side, we have parks, banks, medical center, which is moving in, and recreation center. We have a large population of elderly people. We have about 4 schools from JK to high school within about a few hundred meters. And this has the support of all in the community that they would like to see this go in.
Thank you. Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move the staff recommendation.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Councillor Cole, 51, is it quick?
51, was that my new item?
To reduce
Yes.
the speed
This is
limit on
asking
all
for a
local
report
streets?
back calling for reduction to 40 on local streets because at this point there's confusion over in piecemeal kind of speed system across the ward. So.
All right, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. Item 56, Councillor Pasternak?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to combine this with the item at regarding Codsall, which is item 21. Sorry, 23. And so it's an additional item, but I want to combine item 23 with that.
I thought you wanted to combine 19 with 23.
Yes, that is, I wanted to combine.
19, 23, and 56 together?
No, 19 gets combined with 22.
Right.
And.
And 23 with 56.
Gets combined with 23.
Okay. By combine, I think the councillor means that a person will be speaking to both when they speak. So do you have speakers on 20, on 56?
Sorry, Madam Speaker, we're voting on 56.
No, we're hearing deputants on both items 56 and
23.
23. Joe Maraca and Angelo Sabelis? Yes? So you're going to be speaking on both those items, but we're going to be voting separately.
Yeah, in
Go
the
ahead,
interest of
please.
time, I'll speak for both of us.
Thank you, I
and go-
appreciate that.
So thanks, everybody, again. Appreciate the time. I've been a resident of Codsall Avenue since 1990, and we've been discussing the issues with this street for almost a decade now with the support of Councillor Pasternak. Since that time, there's been an exponential increase in traffic volumes, and as a result of that traffic volume, we have a lot of speeding and a number of near misses. I have 2 young children. I will not let them permit them to play outside in front of my house. This past month, we had a fatality. So this is going to happen more frequently, and there are major concerns with that. So suffice to say, things have degraded to a spot where the street has become a real issue, and instead of a minor collector road, it's now become an arterial road for a lot of citizens who are looking to bypass the major traffic issues at Bathurst and Shepherd. So they're using Codsell as a bypass, and apart from that, there's really no enforcement for the other traffic signals getting into the neighborhood, especially during rush hour periods. So it's become perilous to residents, to children in the neighborhood. It's become pretty bad. And I'm representing a number of the households on Codsell who we polled last year by ourselves on our own time. I know we looked at speed humps. Speed humps are not a solution to the issue, and so I'm going to propose, with Councillor Pasternak's support, that there are a number of items. One is reducing the speed limit to 30 kilometers an hour, which would get a lot of people to slow down, and essentially turning restrictions from Wilmington onto Codsell, and then from Codsell onto Bathurst. Sir, okay. Okay, thank you. Especially during rush hour from 4 to 6. And a stop sign at Codsell at the intersection with Elder is extremely important because people are using that as a major throughway to get through and not slowing down. And finally, I'd like to suggest that we do something about the intersection of Wilson Heights and Codsell. There is no crosswalk there for the students that are going to Mackenzie High School. There are a number of times when people have nearly been killed by vehicles ramming themselves through that neighborhood. So neighbors are passionate about getting that done. Codsell has become a major issue, and so I assume that, and I hope that a lot of the councillors here will help support a street becoming what it once was, and making it safer for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your deputation. We have a motion?
Yes, no, any questions for the deputant? Yeah. Councillor Burnside?
Hello, thank you.
Thank you. So you mentioned a fatality. Was that on Codsell?
It was right on Codsell.
And what were the circumstances? Sorry.
So,
just briefly, like.
Yeah, no, a car coming down the street. They looked like it was distracted driving. Several cars behind, and struck a woman and killed her.
Okay. And the current speed limit?
Current speed limit's not posted, but I believe it's 50.
So it's 50.
Yeah.
Right. And you want the stop sign, pardon me, as a measure to reduce speed?
Yeah, exactly. From Wilmington to Goddard, there is I mean, people are flying down that corridor. And my family was actually the ones that put the stop sign at Goddard and Codsell.
Okay.
So at Elder, it would really serve
Okay.
that function.
And the last thing is, you're aware with any of these, whether it's reducing speed, stop signs, or turn prohibitions, you will get next to no enforcement by the police. So it's really comes down to the people that want to obey the rules.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
We have no right turns now. They're not being forced, so I understand that.
Okay, thanks.
So let's make them. All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. You may be
Thank you.
seated.
Yep, thank you very
Counselor,
much.
you have a
So
motion?
I have 2 motions. One is to
This is for item
Yeah,
23.
yeah, just a reminder to my colleagues that the staff recommendation I will not be moving regarding the denial of the speed humps. The community has had a sober second thought of on the Codsell speed hump. There's not the support. However, we're going to fraction off part of the alternative recommendations. I'm going to be moving a motion to reduce speed limits from 50 to 30 kilometers on Codsell between Bathurst Street and Maxwell. The clerk has a motion approved. The reduction of speed limit from 50 to 30 on Codsell between Maxwell Street and Wilmington Avenue. Approve the reduction of speed limit from 50 to 30 on Codsell between Wilmington and Wilson Heights Boulevard. We did draft these with the help of staff.
So this is related to item 23, which we have to vote on separately from item 56. Okay, so this is 23.
These are simply reducing the
It's not about the speed humps anymore.
The speed humps. There's the turns is item 56,
Which
and
we will
it's-
deal with separately.
And I will be moving a motion for staff to study those, because we cannot move them here.
Okay.
direct.
So 23 first. 23 is up there. Denzel? Okay.
Gosh.
Turn on your mic.
I would be inclined to vote for 40 kilometers. I'd be prepared to support 40 kilometers, so that's what I'm going to move.
All right, so
All
it's
right.
been amended to 40. Counselor?
I'll bring staff to the floor. I thought they were okay with 30.
What's the difference? 30, I mean, it's a community neighborhood, so.
30 do?
30.
40?
I think 30 is.
Okay, sir. Is staff going to give an opinion on 30 versus 40?
Yes, as per the
Kilometers
city,
less.
the city policy, we require a petition for a 30-kilometer
Okay,
speed limit. I
so
don't
it's
believe we
40 then.
received one.
Okay, we're going to accept then Councillor Min Wong's amendment to 40. We're voting on the 40 now. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Pasternak's motion as amended. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So item 23 is dealt with?
I have, did you move 56?
No. Now we're going to item 56.
So 56 is related to this item. What we're having staff do is studying turn restrictions, implementing no right, no left turns onto Codswell during peak periods, from Wilmington to Wilson Heights, studying only, implementing no left turns from westward to Codswell Avenue to northbound Bathurst Street during peak hours, and report back to North York Community Council at its April 4th, 2008 meeting. We've been in touch with staff about that. They believe they can get this work done
Okay.
in that time frame.
Staff has the motion. They just can't
It's a study.
find it right now. So this is a motion to, for a study. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So 56 is dealt with. Councillor Fillion,
Yes.
57 and 58.
So 57 is a motion that staff asked me to move so that we can send appropriate staff to an OMB hearing in, to do with the Vaughan Young Steels corridor.
Is that 57?
That's 57.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 58, please.
And 58 is just asking for a staff report on the feasibility or suitability of renaming a room at Goulding Community Center, or naming a room at Goulding Community Center after Brant Snow, much beloved longtime North York hockey volunteer.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Carroll had held item 20, so that's still outstanding. And what other items are outstanding? 22 and 24?
I have 19.
Yes?
20, 22, and 24.
Okay. '22 and 24. And because the councillor wants it to deal with it in conjunction with another item. Okay, so item 19, there's been a request to have item 19 dealt with alongside 22.
Yeah, so we have deputants on item 19.
Do councillors
19.
want to move a motion that we hear the deputant? We've run out of time.
Yeah, we have deputants who've been here all morning for items 19 and 22, and I'm asking my colleagues to combine the two because they're basically overlapping motions.
All right, then I'm going to ask I'm sorry? Yes, so Councillor Pasternak is moving to extend. All in favor? Opposed?
Oh, great.
Carried.
Thank you very much.
So Councillor Pasternak, you're going to have to chair.
Okay.
Speaker, go ahead, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for sticking around. We'll try to get you out of here for lunch.
My name is Sean Abenstein. I live on King High Avenue, the stretch between Wilson and Invermay. I'm here to talk to you about the concerns our neighbors have, my neighbors have on our street, concerning the speed and increased traffic. And I have a couple letters of neighbors that I promised I would read to the council, as they couldn't be here originally when council had to reschedule. The first letter is from Nora Gerland. I'm writing in regards to the ongoing issue of increased traffic volume and speed on King High Avenue in Ward 10. I've lived on 35 King High Avenue for the past 16 years. In the past several years, I've noticed a major increase in the number of vehicles using King High in the morning coming south from Invermay Avenue to Wilson, and in the evening rush hour north from Wilson, either continuing northbound on King High or turning right from King High onto Allenham Gardens. This is likely being used as a shortcut to avoid the intersection at Bathurst and Wilson. There has also been a change in the demographics on King High Avenue over the years I've lived there. A number of families have moved to the neighborhood, many of whom have young children who attend Faywood Arts-based curriculum school. In fact, King High is a popular walking route for other students attending the school, as well as pedestrians walking to the TTC stop on Wilson Avenue or the Wilson subway station. Many of the drivers I have seen no regard for speed limits and drive well over the allowed speed. I believe that this matter has now expanded beyond traffic management into a significant safety issue. I fear for the safety of pedestrians, particularly the many children who walk on King High every day. The situation has also changed for me as a driver. Pulling in and out of my driveway during rush hour can be a very stressful experience. I would like to request your support in resolving the problems we are having with the increased traffic volume and speed. I recommend that the city consider installing speed humps on King High to slow down traffic. I would also support turn restrictions from Wilson onto King High Avenue from 4 to 6, Monday to Friday. Further, from my neighbors, Mohit, Paul and Tina Badari. I'm writing this letter to express concern about the increased traffic on King High Avenue, which is causing erosion in the overall safety of the street. My wife and I have lived on King High Avenue for approximately 3 years, and we've observed an increase in the number of vehicles using King High Avenue as a thoroughfare to bypass traffic. Every weekday during rush hours, our street is used as a bypass for the traffic on Wilson Avenue and Wilson Heights Boulevard. During these times, it's often impossible to back out of our driveways as a continuous stream of traffic flows on King High Avenue. On several occasions, I have observed vehicles speeding in both directions and almost being involved in collisions with other vehicles and pedestrians. Toronto has seen its fair share of tragedies involving motorists and pedestrians, and one does not need a degree in city planning to comprehend the traffic and pedestrians do not mix. The residents of the street have been engaged in trying to come up with a solution which would work to slow down the speed of vehicles using King High Avenue. The ideal solution would eliminate the use of King High as a thoroughfare. However, the traffic situation in Toronto is far from ideal. The recent installation of all-way stops at King High and Robbie has worked to slow down motorists. However, our neighborhood was informed that the stop signs were installed by mistake without council approval. I'm writing this letter to support keeping the newly installed stop signs in place, which have already slightly improved traffic safety by forcing motorists to slow down. Though they don't stop at the stop sign, we're actually able to back out of our driveways and cross the road without cars barreling down the street. Now, council, I have 3 kids of my own. The eldest is 13 years old. My wife and I still don't allow him to cross the street from our house to the adjacent side of King High. It is a very, very scary street. Small stretch that the motorists are driving at extreme speeds, often not stopping at the stop signs. In the 6 years I've lived on King High, I've never noticed any police for whatever reasons on the street to give out tickets for sliding through stop signs or high speeds. My neighbor Mohit is actually a constable with the Toronto Police Force, so he knows all too well about pedestrians being struck. Traffic Services did do a 24-hour speed and volume study on the street, in which it said 85% of the motorists were traveling at or below 49 kilometers. I have to note one thing. I understand traffic services is very busy and it's difficult to do these studies. But on Wednesday, December 14th, when Traffic Studies did their speed report, the weather, city medical officer and health had issued an extreme cold weather alert. Temperatures were -8.
If you could wrap up, that'd be great. My colleagues are
okay
getting uppity. Procedure. Any questions for the deputant? Councillor Carroll.
So I'm wondering, because your biggest concern is extreme speeds, and that does lead to running stop signs. So I'm wondering, it looks like you already have a speed of 40 kilometers per hour. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering if you're aware that one of the things that they're experimenting with downtown in their local neighborhoods is taking the local neighborhoods, all the roads that are off the arteries like Wilson and Dufferin and Bathurst, and making them 30 kilometers an hour. I'm wondering if you're aware of that action and how you think your community would respond to that. And the reason I ask is because we get so many requests in this neighborhood, and we are loath to approve speed humps, but it sounds like speed is your main issue. How do you feel about the 30-kilometer zones being experimented with?
Well, I mean, listen, I'm all for experimentation, but I really, my concern is that, number one, there is a high percentage of young children on the west side of the street where there's no sidewalk. My kids, all three of my kids walk across the street twice a day. And there's probably 60-70% of children on that side that are walking across the street. I don't think changing the speed limit 10 kilometers is really going to reduce the high speeds that we're seeing on the street. This small stretch, you would be amazed at the speed. There's also a lot of construction going on. There are houses, 2 to 3 houses being built on just that stretch of King High annually. So you have not only excessive speeds, you have large trucks, dump trucks, excavators, demolition. So our concern is the speed, and we know that the only way to deter those people cutting through to get back to Bathurst or to get to Wilson Heights is to slow them down with speed humps. There are already speed humps from Invermay, from Faywood to Bathurst. There are speed bumps already running that direction.
Yeah, and we're not crazy about installing anymore. Ambulance drivers really don't like them. But I'll ask you one other question.
I know that speed humps are effective, and we don't need that many.
I'll ask you one other question, and it's something that we don't know why, but it has a calming effect. The city has a policy right now that as roads are resurfaced in residential areas, if there is no sidewalk, that we take an easement and install sidewalks. Do you think the street would be safer if there were sidewalks on both sides of that street? Because the policy is when they come to your street, they'll be installing one.
No, the sidewalks won't be effective. The sidewalks aren't going to deter drivers. The only thing that deters drivers are speed humps or stop signs, but stop signs don't seem to be working in this specific situation.
Yeah,
also, one thing Traffic Services doesn't take into effect is that Faywood Arts-Based Curriculum School, which caters to that neighborhood, great school, but in addition to them not taking into consideration the weather on the day they laid speed strips, is that Faywood is also caters to the hearing impaired and the sight impaired, which is an important fact because you can't hear horns and you can't hear trucks, that are downshifting at a high speed for the hearing impaired. So we have to take into consideration the demographic of that area and who are going to the school.
That's what we do.
It's just something to take into consideration. That's all. Oh, sorry, council members. One last thing before that.
It's just questions. You can incorporate what you want to say in your answer. Councillor Shiner.
Okay.
You want to go to question? Any other questions for the deputant?
I have a quick question. Sorry. Did you say that the kids are crossing at Robbie to the east side of King High?
Yes, kids are crossing from the east side of King High between Wilson and Invermay from the east side to the west side, where there's no sidewalk on the east side.
Why?
Why is there no sidewalk?
No, why are they crossing to walk where there's no sidewalk?
How else would they get over to the sidewalk to walk towards school?
Sorry, but there's a sidewalk on King High. Are they
There's a
walking
sidewalk
on
on
this?
King High. I live on the east side.
Right, there's no sidewalk in
Sorry,
front of you.
sorry. I live on the west side of King High.
And there's a sidewalk.
There's no sidewalk. The only way my kids
No,
can
on
get...
the, sorry, there's a sidewalk on the east side.
There's a sidewalk on the east side,
And
yes,
your
sir.
kids have to cross the road.
Yes, sir, every day, twice a day.
And then walk up the street from there.
Yes, sir.
And you want a stop sign at Robbie so they can cross.
Yes, there is a stop sign already been put in at Robbie, I think mistakenly, but it has been installed.
And that's the one you said
It's a
people
brand new
don't-
stop sign.
Are they obeying it?
Not at the moment, because it is a brand new stop sign. I'm sure it
Sorry,
takes some
does a
time.
new stop sign get less people obeying than an old stop sign?
Well, they're not familiar with it being there, including myself. I was not even, it
Okay,
was
thank you.
installed and I wasn't sure. I know question period is over, but I forgot to mention,
Thank
because I
you
was
very
rushing.
much. It's okay. You've mentioned an awful lot when we were just asking you
Well, I'm
questions.
trying to get you in here before lunch.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to questions for staff. Councillor Burnside?
Oh, wow, thank you. So, two questions. It said here that the cost is almost $13,000 for part of it, and I guess another is $3,200. It's about, what, $16,000. In any event, funds have been approved, however, for the year of about $300, but those funds have all been depleted. So obviously it wouldn't be this year. It seems like every year the funds get depleted. What happens if you have a project that doesn't meet the warrants, but community council approves it, up against, is it up against projects that have been approved? Is it just first come, first serve?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's not first come, first serve. There's a rating system, so projects that have a higher rating would be given.
Priority?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my next question is, it said something here about polling. Conduct a poll, 50% must respond, 60% must agree. Has a poll been done here?
Yes, a poll has been done. That's what I was trying to get in there.
Okay.
3/4 of the street have polled. A new
So actually, I'm
stop-
asking staff, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm asking
I wanted
staff.
to get that.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, when did your constituent become a member of
Come on.
Toronto City
Well,
staff?
I don't know, there's some very special people who live in our area, and
No, with all due respect.
Yes.
all right, everyone's a little grumpy because we're working through lunch. I
No,
understand.
because I'm asking staff questions with all due respect.
Well, I wish
and I
staff
want
would
an answer
answer.
from staff.
Yes, Councillor Burnside, a poll has not been undertaken. A petition has been undertaken.
That's why I wanted to ask staff, thank you very much.
Which is
So-
required to initiate the process. It is informal. The poll is undertaken through the city clerk's office,
But-
and it is a formal process. It
So
has
we
not been undertaken.
do we have to do a formal poll, or?
Yes, as per the terms of the traffic calming policy, we do.
So then at the beginning here, it says, we have delegated authority, except it varies with city policy. So how can we actually decide on this if we're going against city policy of conducting a poll? Am I in like another world? So is this
Through
something
you,
out of
Mr.
order?
Chair, we are dealing with two different issues here. So if we're dealing with the speed humps, the traffic calming policy, then the alternate recommendation would be approved by North York Community Council, and that would initiate the formal process.
Of
If
the
we're
poll.
talking about the always stop, that is a different issue that could be approved by.
Okay,
Community
sorry, I'm
Council.
talking about the speed humps, bumps, whatever you want to call them. So if we approve the alternate, then you would conduct a poll.
That is correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those responses.
Don't worry, colleagues, we will be getting to lunch soon. Okay, no, thank you very much for your lectures, I appreciate them. To staff, there is currently a stop sign at King High and Robbie, is that correct?
Yes, let me explain that at the last meeting, the staff recommendation was denial. A junior staff person misunderstood what happened to the referral of that item, and requested the stop signs be installed, and they were installed a few weeks ago. So it was a staff error.
So is there any restrictions to us moving a motion to maintain what's there?
The error doesn't impact the decision that Community Council will make today.
So there was no stop sign, then there is a stop sign now, then if they move a motion to remove it, it's here again, there again. What kind of risk does that pose for motorists? Aren't we safer to just leave it as is?
Well, as you've likely heard quite often, Mr. Chair, we have concerns about putting in unwarranted stop signs in as much as there could be a level of disobedience of the stop signs. Pedestrians crossing the roadway anticipate that the stop signs will provide safety to them, so there's a false sense of security often. That's our concern about unwarranted stop signs.
Are there collisions or injuries at warranted stop signs?
Well, actually, we heard that there had been a fatality from a previous delegate, and that was at a all-way stop sign.
There was. So people are killed, injured, there's property damage at warranted stop signs?
That is correct.
Okay, thanks very much. Any other questions for staff? No? I have 3 motions. Remember, we're combining item 19 and 22. Okay, we'll deal with, I don't want to confuse people. We'll deal with item 19. We're not going to challenge the denial report for speed humps, but we will be asking staff to do a formal poll to do a reset on that issue, and I'd have a motion to poll. No, so on 19, what we're going to do, we have a motion to maintain the existing stop sign that's already in the ground. We're not going to send staff out there again to remove it all and create even more risk and danger for the local community. We heard from the deputy that it seems to be working. So I'm going to, if it wasn't installed already, I would have doubts about putting it in, but it's already there. I say we leave it. I have a motion to that effect. Also going to reduce speed limits from 40 to 30 kilometers an hour on King High Avenue between Invermay and Allingham Gardens, on Allingham Gardens between King High and Wilson Avenue. To those, and then on, okay. Am I confusing you? Do you want to do, 19 is really the, maintaining this. Let's deal with 19 first. It is.
Motion to extend to finish this item?
It is to maintain the existing stop sign that's installed.
We need a motion to extend.
Okay, motion to extend? To finish or just the item?
Mr. Chair, our Community Council solicitor wanted to comment on the motions.
Mr. Chair, if I understand the facts, if there are stop signs put in that are not warranted, I believe they should have been part of a bylaw. Otherwise, the police would not have the right to enforce it. So if there's a motion to leave them where they are, that would not be proper.
I see you've had all morning, all day to comment on that.
He's giving you advice on your motion. He's absolutely right. You can't leave a sign without a bylaw.
Well, that's for staff and legal to work out.
Your motion is not well-founded, sir, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, I mean, you've had all day to comment on it. I'm not sure.
I have not had all day. This came up right now, sir.
Okay, I'm just moving a motion to approve the stop sign. Councillor Carroll?
So,
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead.
my understanding is you can't move a motion to approve the stop sign. You have to move a motion to reopen the item. And then you could move a motion.
That's
That
not
was the advice
I'm
of this.
getting. I wish the clerk would get together with legal and figure out
Well,
what.
if nobody
Didn't know
knows,
what action you were going to take.
The motion was drafted days ago, and it's been.
So what?
clairvoyant, Shelley.
in all due respect to my colleague, there are procedures here. You can't do things that go hocus pocus. There are orders in place. Everybody knows you want a stop sign. They have their opinion. I would ask that you place the appropriate and proper motions in front of us. And if the solicitor is saying it must be reopened, then just move a motion to reopen it. He said the item was dealt with before the denial of the stop sign.
From what I understand, staff has already erected the stop sign.
No, that's,
But the
bylaw attached to it.
no, but the report in front of us, the recommendation is to deny the installation of the always stop control. Councillor Pasternak is now moving a motion to approve it. If that motion carries, then at the subsequent meeting, a bill would have to come forward.
sorry, so the only question I have is, was this application for a stop sign in front of us before, and the transportation staff will know?
At the last meeting of Northcote Community Council, staff reported recommending denial of the request for an always stop at this intersection. It was then deferred
Okay,
until this meeting.
so then we
So
don't.
this has
have
not
to-
been voted on.
So we don't have to reopen it, okay.
Yeah, I think we have to vote. We have to move on. Okay, let's put the motion on the screen.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to speak for 30 seconds because residents from this neighborhood are here. I will be voting against your motions, all of them, so I just wanted to speak briefly to it. We have received many deputations from this neighborhood in different ways, different forms, and what is clear is that a design study of this neighborhood has to take place. It emerges that residents do know one thing. They have stop signs already that don't work, which is very much in line with traffic planning. What they generally tell residents is that if you don't have the right design features in place, stop signs don't work. They are, in fact, very dangerous because people tend to run them. If you overpopulate an area with stop signs, people just begin to run them. And then children are really in danger because they expect you to stop and people don't. And we've seen deaths from that very scenario. What should be clear in this neighborhood by now is that you could put a stop sign at every single intersection, and then no one would have a request left to bring to this community council, but every child would then be in danger. What does need to be looked at is telling them what policies are coming down the pipe, adding sidewalks on both sides of the street so that a driver has to visually attend to the fact that there may in fact be pedestrians on both sides of the street is a known traffic calming measure. It psychologically calms folks down. Bringing in boulevards, strategic planting. There are all sorts of measures, none of which are stop signs and none of which are speed humps, that are actually far more effective in neighborhoods just like this one. And I long for the day that a design study comes forward telling us what can be done in this neighborhood for those types of traffic calming measures, because those are the ones that we know from several neighborhoods in this city. Those are the ones that work. Those are the ones where the numbers of collisions, if they exist, go down, and the numbers of injuries, if they exist, go down, and busy schools are able to function without driving the neighbors nuts. So that's the type of traffic calming design study I'm really looking for in the near future, because the popularity of Faywood is not going to change. Thank you.
I'm just going to mention very briefly that I'm very... Sorry? We put the motion on the screen. All those in favor? Opposed? I think that loses. Motion to adopt staff recommendations. In favor? Counselor Carroll? All those in favor? 3. Opposed? I didn't count. Okay. We blended this with item 22. This next motion is a speed reduction from 40 kilometers to 30 kilometers on King High Avenue. If we could put that on the screen. Yes. There's this. So this is embedded in here. This duplicates this. So I'll just move this one, the one in your hand.
You want to move this?
Yeah. So we'd like to conduct a formal poll of the neighborhood to revisit speed humps as well as reduce the speed limits. These alternative recommendations in the staff report on item 22. You want to
Just
ask
for a
questions?
clarification of the mover?
Do you want to ask questions for staff?
Or the mover is fine. So number 1 is to conduct a poll, and then number 2, if the poll results are successful, that then automatically things are installed? Is
That's right. It's supplementary report on page 3 and 4 before you.
Thank you.
All those in
We
favor?
split that?
Hold on a sec. I'm sorry. This is an unconventional motion. I have to ask a question of staff.
Clerk
I've
doesn't
never
think-
seen a poll for speed humps where we haven't in the poll said, do you support speed humps? Or is the poll really going to go out saying whether residents support the installation of traffic calming, period? Or will it be clear to them they're voting for a hump?
Yes, Counselor. The poll does include a map which actually shows the individual locations of the speed humps that they're voting on.
Thanks.
All those in favor? Opposed? Can I move this? Just try and get the speed humps down. Can I move this stand up? Does someone want to move the staff recommendations? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Okay, we have to move to item 20. I'm going to defer that item. All those in favor? It's item 20, all-way stop control, Armour Boulevard and Lionsgate Drive. Sure, we're not voting on it, I'm deferring it. I'm deferring it to the next schedule. All those in favor? That's 4. Opposed? Against? Any questions for staff? Any speakers?
I'll be
Carol?
moving the staff recommendations. This street still has 4 stop signs and 4 speed humps, and I'm satisfied that that is enough of them. I was just on Tuesday night. Thank you.
Okay, those in favor of this, of the motion before us to move staff recommendations? You know, she's voting, well, I mean, it's the recommendation. The recommendation is before you, moved by Councillor Carroll. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Last item seems to be item 24. I'm going to move the staff recommendations. I had other motions, but it doesn't seem to be my day. All those in favor of staff recommendations? Oh, any questions for staff or, no? Okay, moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Bills? Nobody leave, please. Councillor Carmichael Greb, you have a motion to introduce and enact certain bills.
That the North York Community Council pass and declare as bylaws bills 1288 to 1297 and 1333 to 1336, prepared for the November 14th, 27 meeting 26 of the Community Council.
Shall these bills be passed and declared as bylaw? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
Yeah, I'll read it. That the North York Community Council pass and declare as bylaw a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of North York Community Council under delegated authority at meeting 26, November 14th.
Shall this bill be passed and declared as a bylaw? All those in favor? Opposed? I think that's carried with my vote. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, members of the audience, deputants, city staff. We're done. We're adjourned.
That was great. I've never heard that term before. Anticipated decline.
That's how ridiculous it was.
This is language. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
had a few things here. One.
On the bottom,
This?
it's all together yours, yeah.
Yeah.
One's yours, one's Lily's.
Okay. This one's Willie's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bring it up.
Okay, that's the planning card, so I figured we'd bring it up anyway.
Oh, is this, yeah, okay. I'll leave that there then. I'll just take mine.
That's why I left it there.
How was the rest of the meeting? I missed the left, or anything else come up?
No. I really have. No, it was a few months ago. Yeah, it was more, yeah, more transportation. Just a bit more conservation, yeah. More controversial than it was. Wow, when I first started, it was a pretty good.
I know, there's a lot, find some. A lot of reports. Just that one on the first part. A lot of discussion on that. But, yeah, so it's nice to have that. On to the next one.
There you go.
So how many more before we got the election break? We got one in July. This year? Next year? There's one in July. Because we don't usually have one in July. We usually. No, community council. Is there one in July?
I haven't even seen it yet. It's online, I haven't done yet.
So January, February, April, May, June. 5 more? It would be nice to have a break though after. From September to the end of the year, there won't be one, right? 4 months we won't have.
But you know what? When councils come on, I remember, they had Michelin working up there, Michelin managers, you know, 101, and then council.
Oh, that's true.
Right, so it's
Plus the agenda, the agenda. Oh, sorry, July 4th. Yeah, see, I knew there was another one, so. Yeah. So there's one. I know this year council goes into August because of the election. So there's 6 left. 6 days left. A lot of applications. And then they appeal.
You know what? I bit my tongue from saying that, because I said to Francie, as soon as I saw those
There will
plans,
be reforms.
those are appeals.
Julie just walked in my office, another one, which was a good project that we were gonna support and it was going through the process very smoothly. They appealed because of the new OB reforms. They wanna get their appeals in before the legislation kicks in. Yeah. They don't know, but before the end of the year, they said. Yeah. That's what the rumor is. So that's why everyone's appealing now. You see a lot of appeals you're getting.
I think there's no appeal.
Yeah. So 270, I don't know if that's 270.
Maybe, all of a sudden,
So it's like, all we're doing now is appeal reforms and settle, request for merger.
Yeah.
And then settle.
No, but they may lock the council chambers in between. Oh, really? Maybe, I don't know, I'm checking them.
I work for the city of Toronto.
Oh, okay, then stay, you work in city?
I just get a conference call in December.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and, yeah.
done for the day?
Yeah, we're here.
Well, set up.
Because usually we have booked that whole day. You sure you're in the right room?
Well, yeah. I just want to know if you guys are done so I can get rid of those water glasses.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were printing for me. Okay, we're done.
Thank you.
Yeah, the problem is the cables. Yeah, it's over there.
There's not a lot I can do about that, because,
Yeah, but normally
well, I could put it this way, and it would still be in the way, so it's,
normally I don't have an issue. Today I did. I don't know why. Normally I don't really have an issue. Today I did.
someday they'll all be wireless. We won't have all these
You
tethers.
and I will not be working here.
I will be. You might be. There'll be a dust boat on the horizon.
Let me just tell you, my intention is to win lottery, get out real quick. I always say that because it's a nice thing to say.
Could happen.
You know, rather than saying it's this or something's gonna happen to me, I'm gonna win a lottery and retire. How's that? Who would you go first? No, vacation.
Well, yeah, but where?
France.
France?
I already knew. It's just otherwise. So, yeah.
So my wife would like to go to Malta.
Really?
That's where her dad's family's from.
Oh, nice.
And I might need to go to like Hawaii for a month before I go traveling, just to, get in shape.
You go to Hawaii, you're gonna be so laid back. Everything's beautiful there.
Because I've never been.
I've
You
never
know,
been
you
to,
see
but,
the shows.
but that's paradise, basically, isn't it?
Yes.
Well,
Yes, yes, yes,
paradise.
yes, yes.
That's just, thank you. It worked today, so it's wonderful.
It's weird, isn't it? I watched a few episodes of the Hawaii Five-O show, largely because when they would come into the scene, they'd be showing you where they were, walking through the jungle or the beaches or the jungles.
This is where I
It's
gotta go.
just fantastic.
I like, you don't care about the show. You don't really care about anything. You just want to see the scenery. Yeah. Right? It's just scenery stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for setting up and taking your part. Thank you.
You got all your gubbins?